If you're like me and you grew up in the early 2000s, you likely at some point in your lives held one of those strangely shaped GameCube controllers and played a game on a tiny disc inside of a thing that looked like a lunchbox and even had a handle on to prove it. I always wanted a GameCube when I was a kid, and I'll never forget when I got a PlayStation 2 instead for Christmas, which I was insanely excited about. But the reason why I wanted the GameCube was because they had Pokemon games that you could play on a TV, and outside of that, I didn't have that much interest in the GameCube or the Mario titles at the time, but I wanted the GameCube, and ultimately, my parents brought home a PlayStation 2, which I turned out to be a lot more excited about, because the guy at Best Buy told them that the PlayStation 2 was a better system, it had more games, nada nada nada, and honestly everything the guy at Best Buy told them was probably true, because the PlayStation 2 did end up selling better, it ended up having more games. But regardless, today what matters is how expensive GameCube games, and even the GameCube console to an extent, are, and the reason is because of guys like that dude at Best Buy. Not enough people bought the GameCube. It wasn't as popular as the PlayStation 2, and thus there aren't as many GameCube or GameCube games out there. And we seem to have reached an era in 2018, even as early as 2014, where my generation grew up, went to college, and decided that the coolest thing they could do in college was hang out and play the GameCube with a bunch of their friends, because modern gaming does not appreciate split screen like a classic Nintendo console did. So it really brings up the question, why? Just why are GameCube games so expensive? Overall interest in the GameCube has not even risen over the last 5-10 years. So it blows my mind that games that are 10 to 15 years old are already worth as much as they are. And by that I mean they're basically worth as much as you paid for them on day one. These Nintendo first-party titles have really held their value. Now, as far as the actual hardware itself, I don't understand why anybody would buy a GameCube, like a literal GameCube, when you can buy a Wii for half the price, and I've always said my Wii is my GameCube, because the Wii is a GameCube. It's literally the exact same thing, just minus the handle and the blocky shape, plus it can also play Wii games. And I also don't really know why somebody would really need that first-party GameCube controller that everybody wants to charge a premium for if you play Melee competitively. Look, I get it. But for the rest of us, if you're going to be playing this with your friends and somebody's going to spill some pop on it or something, just buy one of the knockoffs from GameStop. I paid literally like $12 for a new knockoff GameCube controller. But the games, now that's where they really get you. A lot of these games have not been re-released digitally on the newer Nintendo platforms, and maybe that will change with the Switch being out and having the popularity that it has. Imagine playing a GameCube game on the go. That'd be cool, right? But for right now, it seems like the only way to play those games without using something shady to do it is actually buying the discs. And because of the limited runs the discs had, this has kind of cornered people into having to buy those discs. Now, I don't understand why people would buy third-party games on the GameCube, the games that were released on multi-plat games. I don't understand how people would buy multi-plat games for the GameCube. Usually the graphics are worse, it lacked content compared to the PlayStation 2 or the original Xbox copies, plus they're far more expensive. But those original Nintendo first-party titles, which there were some really good ones on the GameCube. Even the Strikers game, the soccer Nintendo game, I loved that game. It just had this nice arcadey feel, and it was something that really just brought me back to McDonald's every time we were there. Because again, I didn't own a GameCube, but they had that at the McDonald's kiosk probably until 2010, well after the GameCube was even relevant anymore. And I really enjoyed playing that. And now, because I own that game and I own a Wii that can play that game, it's just a great blast. And it's just something that is missing in modern gaming, that couch co-op feel. And while occasionally games do include it, it doesn't quite have the same feel that it did on the GameCube or even the PlayStation 2 or original Xbox. So, maybe it's nostalgia, maybe it's the limited runs, but regardless, GameCube games have become something of a collector item, something of a rarity, and their attributes have become something of a rarity in modern gaming. Thank you guys for watching. I'm Bailey, and I will see you in the next video.